I'm Mr. Reckless Abandon Lazarus Black.
And I am the deranged behemoth Ryan Mantis.
And together, we are
the Black Society.
And you, my friends, are watching Hashtag Truth
with Scott Larson.
Roll it.
Watch it all fall down around you now. Was it ever really worth it? Having your kingdom crumble to the ground because you never had the courage. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. There's one thing that each human on this earth shares, a sensation with infectious effects beyond compare. And there's nothing more I'd rather do than share that sensation with you. That sensation that we call love. I wanna feel it. We wanna feel it. Lost in a sea of doubt, we wait until we drown, or till our perfect Savior will come to pull us out.
Well, that's a way to start the show. Forget to click that black screen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hashtag Truth. Yep, first mess up of the night is always the best. We are here with Mr. Royal. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. I hope you're doing well.
I am doing great. As we have been trying to get this show together for quite some time. I'm glad you finally made it, man. So how long have you been in the wrestling business, sir?
Ooh, on and off for probably about 15 years.
And what do you do in the let's just get right into it. What do you do in the professional wrestling business?
I am the best manager on the indie circuit.
Woo! I mean, straight to the point. I like that. The best manager. So tell me some of the guys you have managed in the last 15 years.
Well, as you very well know, your guest last week, AJ McIntyre, was one of my very first clients. I've managed the American GI, another guest on your show.
Yes.
I've managed AWOL, the tag team AWOL. Got to manage beautiful Bobby Eaton at the Winston-Salem Coliseum Annex one night.
That was wow. We're going to definitely talk about that one.
Yeah, that was a tag team match, AJ and Bobby against Double Trouble and Dusty Joe Slater.
Wow. So how'd you come about that? How did that happen? Was you there and they just needed a manager, or how did that come about?
Well, I'd already worked with AJ, and I was working with some other people in the NWA Carolinas group at the time as well. And the promoter, Double Trouble, had told me that he was bringing Bobby Eaton in, and I got down on my hands and knees. I'm like, please, 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 you've got to let me have the opportunity to work with him. And I'm going to tell you what, God rest his soul, one of the nicest men ever in this business. That is the gospel right there, brother. I'm telling you, that man was super.
Doug Masters, another wrestler that's going to be on the show Monday, says, looking forward to being on your show. I'm looking forward to having you, sir. Alexander, a good friend of mine, saying, what's up? What's up, Alex? Nancy, a true listener to the show. Thank you, Miss Nancy. Says, what's up? How are you doing? Jamie also says, what's up? How you doing, Jamie? Welcome to the show. Nancy says, hashtag hello. They're all watching. I love it. So you started, how did you start as a manager in wrestling? Tell us the story of how you began as a manager. What made you come into professional wrestling as a manager?
Well, it's something that I grew up on as a kid. You know, I grew up on the old Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, watching guys like Gary Hart, Sir Oliver Humperdinck, later on Jim Cornette, J.J. Dillon, Gene Anderson, some even further back than that, George Crybaby Cannon from the IWA.
Ooh.
And I was like, man, I'd really like to try that sometime. And nobody would ever give me the nod to do the manager thing.
Okay.
So I had got in touch with a promoter, and he said, I'll tell you what, he said, I need a referee for this show. And that's how me and AJ met. And
so you came the referee, and you got backstage, you met a wrestler and decided, well, I'm here as a referee. You're talking to AJ. I can see how this conversation goes right now. You're sitting there with AJ and you're like, well, I'm here as a referee, but I really want to be a manager. And so what did AJ say to that?
He says, okay, you're my manager. And we worked together. We worked together a long time, and we had actually even formed a little faction called the CWC, which we discussed a little bit when AJ was on the show.
Right.
And, and like he said, it was a group of misfit toys. We just we didn't belong to anybody or anything. We were our own little entity.
And you guys just went around wrestling wherever you could get a gig, right?
Wrestling wherever we could go, man. And just loved every minute of it. So
tell me who was all in that group, because I can't remember. You know how my memory is. Tell me who was all in the group. AJ, who else was in there? Do you remember?
AJ was in the group. Firebird, which I call Thunder Chicken. Let's see. We had a big guy named Tank, and a guy that's no longer in the business, and I won't even mention his name. Some things there that we shouldn't even discuss on your fine program.
I got you. There's, and we're gonna discuss something about that. Not that particular guy, but there are situations in wrestling where you come across a person and you don't find out who they are till after you start working with them, right?
Absolutely. It happens more often than not. You hear little bits and pieces. There's always gossip. Oh, you don't need to work with this guy because he's done this and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Well, I'll give anybody a chance. Okay.
Right.
Somebody gave me a chance. So I'm willing to give somebody else a chance if the need arises. And if I find out later down the road, then guess what? I'm done with you.
Right.
I mean, no sense tarnishing my name because of something he's done.
Isn't that amazing how that happens sometimes in the world of professional wrestling, that, it's never the person's fault that's complaining?
Exactly. See that a lot.
Oh yeah. But again, on the other hand, there are a ton of great professional wrestlers out there who do everything right, who do go out there and work their butts off and do the right thing. So I'm not just going to sit here and say that, most of professional wrestling is trash, because that is not true.
That's not true. I've been in and out of a lot of locker rooms in 15 years. Worked with some of the best, worked with some of the not so good, but I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I miss it. I mean, when I'm not able to do a show, I see AJ doing so well, and I'm like, man, I ought to be right there beside him, because he helped me get my start. But I'm glad to see that he's having some success, and him and Natural Born Playa and all those guys, we all worked together in NWA Carolinas, and we had a good time there. And we also, me and AJ kind of moved into another group. It was the CCW, Carolina Championship Wrestling, out of Concord, North Carolina.
Okay.
And we had a lot of fun there too. We did a lot of good stuff there, I thought. And that's where I got to work with American GI a lot. And I left off a name that I shouldn't have, Jay Batista. I've actually worked with him as well.
Okay. So you said you worked with the American GI. Did you do it while he was the American GI? Did you walk him out in his?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So did you walk out in military garb, or did you just have your own?
No, sir. I'm a class act. I've got no time for the camo and all that. I wore my 3-piece suit, carried my cane, and looked as only Mr. Royal can look.
Okay, I got you. I like that. I like that. So I mean, I don't come out in a suit. I don't think Omar could take enough time to put a suit together to cover my big body. So what do you think about some of the managers today that don't come out looking, the three
Well,
piece look, the
not everybody needs to pull that look off. Okay. And I've seen your stuff, and I think you do a good job with what you do, and you look professional. I mean, you're not coming out in old ratty, sweaty holes in the t-shirt type thing, because I've seen that too.
No.
You're always dressed properly. You know what I mean? And
Right.
And like I say, not everybody.
I'm never going to come out looking like I just came out of the gutter or anything. I'm at least gonna have regular clothes on, and come out. I spin the hat around. I wear the shades.
Yeah.
if I
it was funny. The Mr. Royal look went through quite a lot. I started out with a little leather jacket, and like you said, the hat turned around backwards and all that. Right. And I didn't feel comfortable in that. Then I got to wearing dress pants and a pair of slip resistant shoes.
There you go.
Because
those are very important.
Mess up. Absolutely. Walmart, Scott. Walmart.
Hey, I'm telling you, I couldn't tell you the number of times that I've been walking around a ring and almost fell. And it's not because of it's being slick sometimes, just because sometimes you do an outside show or something like that, and you might be on unlevel ground, anything like that. It's anything, or you might be in an armory somewhere and they paint the floor and it's slick.
Yes, sir. But like I say, I started wearing the dress pants and the nice sports coat and the vest and the tie and all that. And it just worked for the image I was trying to portray.
Michael King said, Mr. Royal and Mr. King rocking the three-piece suits. That's right. There you go.
Awesome.
So who was the very first person you managed? Who was the very first person that you walked out to the ring?
Believe it or not, I worked as a referee on a Friday night, and two of the guys that AJ was actually working against, they called themselves Team Flow, future legends of wrestling, and neither one of them are in the business anymore, thank goodness.
Was it that bad?
Well, they had potential to be so much more.
Okay.
But I felt like they were believing their own hype. They were believing their own hype. They were people, oh, you're so great. You're so great. And they had the thing that really, really embarrassed me more than anything about those two was the fact that we went to a CCW show and here they are wearing the NWA Carolinas tag team titles. Okay. In my mind, and out of respect for the promoter that I'm working for that night, I'm not going to wear somebody else's belts out there.
But unless it's a dual,
unless I'm asked to.
Unless it's a dual, thing, both companies are working together.
Right.
There is no reason to bring another belt over. I mean,
exactly.
Really.
But I was, like I say, I've been in the business 2 days, and oh yeah, you can be our manager, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, cool. And me and AJ had talked about it afterwards, and I told him, I said, man, that just didn't feel right to me. And they were a babyface team, and me being me, it's a whole lot easier to make people dislike you than it is to like you.
Oh yeah, it's definitely easier.
And I enjoy being a butthole. It's what I'm good at. It's an extension of myself.
So who? I mean, this is a question that's asked of all people. Did anybody train you, or it sounded like you just went right into the business as yourself and just?
Brother, I picked it up as I went along. I watched, like I say, I grew up watching guys like Humperdinck and Hart, and and these guys, and I would take a little bit from them and Gene Anderson, and I'd take a little bit of them and apply it to myself, And one thing you got to remember, and I found this out later, less is more.
Right.
You don't always have, you're there as talent enhancement for your guys.
You want to shine the light on your guys up in the
On
ring,
the guys, exactly.
or girl or women, whoever you're managing. You want to put the light on them.
Exactly. And a lot of people, why are you with them? Why are you working with them? And I'm like, you work with who you're told to work with. A lot of times.
That is true. Unless you are put together, unless you are already a team coming in, a manager with a team or a guy, you show up as a manager at a wrestling company and say, "Hey, I want to work tonight." There's no telling who you're going to manage. If they even
it might be the worst guy on the card, and I've had a few of those, but
hey, but sometimes you can
learn an experience.
But you could tell a story that way. I've had some guys that everybody would say, they're horrible. But we made a great storyline, man. And we made great stories. You never know if there's I always told these guys, and I told the guy, and I'm still his manager today. His name is Luke Christian. I looked at him. I said, dude, there's a diamond in the rough in every company that you go to.
Absolutely.
There's some guy who has no idea that 10 years down the road, AEW or WWE is going to be calling on him. He has no idea.
Well, I mean, just look at AEW, some of the stars that they have, like Darby Allin.
AEW, we got one watching us right now, Mr. Urban Legend. How about that? Congratulations,
awesome.
Urban. But yeah, Urban Legend, here's one right here. Worked hard, worked his butt off. And I just saw some pictures the other day. This guy right here was working at an AEW facility on a TV match. And that is awesome.
That's awesome. Best of luck, brother. I hope everything works out for you, man. I really do.
He is awesome. He is a multiple-time guy here on #Truth, and I'd love to get him back on. Hit me up, Urban. I'd love to get you back on. I'm the greatest first generation wrestler that ever lived, and he's also got an ego.
Hey, you got to believe your own hype, brother.
Hey, I'm telling you, this guy is for his name to be Urban Legend. He is. I'm serious. If you go back and listen to his story and where he's come from, the first time that I interviewed this guy, I cried. I legitimately was on air crying when I heard this guy's story, where he came from. But he went through all of it, and I'm proud to say that we saw him on AEW the other night, and I'm very happy for that. But so you said you did AJ McIntyre, AWOL. Okay, let's go to AWOL, because AWOL is a special tag team, man. They are pretty cool. They come out with the military gimmick, but they come out with the scary masks. How'd you get involved with AWOL?
Through a good friend of mine that was a promoter at the time. The light went off. Hold on.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, there we go. But anyway, it was one of those instances where I was working at the beach, doing a show for a friend of mine down there, and what he had done, he pretty much got a card in a box. They came, set the ring up for him, brought about 8 or 10 guys, and AWOL happened to be one of them. Well, as you know, me and American GI were tight, and GI pretty much told me, he says, if you ever get a chance to work with AWOL, he says, you need to do it. And I was fortunate enough to do it twice. So I was very impressed with their tag team work, and two great guys.
I saw them work just a couple weeks ago at the Billy Ruff Memorial, and them guys are old school tag team. I love watching them guys. They remind me so much of Memphis Wrestling, watching those two, and that is a huge compliment.
Yes,
for me, I love Memphis Wrestling. So, It's just amazing to watch those two guys and to watch them work in the ring. They are ring generals, if you will.
Absolutely.
They and with their costume and what they do and their characters and what they come out and portray, all eyes are always on them because they got
Yes.
the scary look too. They got but they're big. They're not small guys either. They're
No,
broad.
no, they both dress out at about I'd say about close to 300 pounds apiece.
Yeah. They're at least 275, 300, somewhere in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. And big guys, and it's fun to watch them, man. So, are you managing now anybody, or are you just kind of taking it easy?
I'm kind of enjoying life a little bit, being on the road a lot, that kind of takes a wear and tear on you. So I'm kind of stepping back and weighing my options right now, waiting for another golden opportunity, so to speak.
Okay. Is your shoot job taking you away from that? Are you retired, or what? Where are you at outside of wrestling?
I work for a pizza place.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. I love pizza. I've had my share of pizzas. I won't even ask you which kind because it doesn't matter. I'll eat it anyway.
Well, maybe. I'm not a pizza person.
Well,
You smell it cook all day, and
I just had 2 pieces of pizza about 10 minutes before the show, so I can't. There you go. I always eat
nothing
pizza,
wrong with that.
but yeah. I don't know where I went. I don't know where I was going with that. I have no idea.
You were thinking about food.
That's it. I'm telling you, it was all about food. See, look at that. Even Nancy just had pizza. We're all going to start talking about pizza. But
It's all good. It's all good.
it's all good.
Like I say,
So
again, I want to thank you again, Scott, for having me on. This really means a lot to me, man.
Oh, I loved having you on, man. So I'm going to ask some questions that normally the guys over here ask of wrestlers. I'm going to ask it of you. If you could manage anybody out there in indies or professional, the big time contract wrestlers or anything, who would be that one guy you would love to manage? Just one night, even if it was only for one night.
There's so many.
Oh,
I
come
would
on,
love.
baby, drop some names.
I would love to work with MJF,
Oh man,
the best heel in the business right now, man. I'm telling you.
it's hard.
I'm
It's hard
telling
to see him with the manager though because he
Yeah,
speaks.
he
so well.
doesn't need a mouthpiece.
No, he doesn't at all.
But if I ever had an opportunity to do something like that, maybe MJF, Lance Archer's another one that comes to mind.
Very good.
Um,
I love that. Any tag teams out there? Any particular tag teams?
the Lucha Brothers, believe it or not.
Ooh, the Lucha Brothers. So would you how would you come out with the Lucha Brothers? What would your dress be coming out with the Lucha Brothers?
The same. I would give what's his name now, Andre El Idolo. I'd give him a run for his money. I'd come out dressed to the nines.
Okay, I got you. Shiny toed shoes.
Absolutely. Maybe a sombrero.
Oh, there you see. That's what I'm talking about. At least put something in the gimmick, right?
Absolutely.
But that's what I'm talking about. Or maybe come out with a regular hat or a cowboy hat or a Fendera or something like that with the Spanish colors through it.
Or a Mexican flag on it or something.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yep.
Nancy said your tag teams are off limits. She's talking about mine.
Oh. Well, they probably wouldn't want to work. They wouldn't want to work with me anyway.
Yeah, these are two of my boys right here, and yeah, of course, Luke Christian. I love managing Luke Christian when I'm able to. He's fun to work with. But I just love doing it. What makes it fun to be a manager for you? I know what it is for me, and I'll answer mine after you answer yours.
it's a childhood dream, man. I mean, like I say, I grew up watching a lot of these old time guys, and I'm like, I'm never going to be big enough to be a wrestler.
Right.
And I've got 2 left feet, so that doesn't help anything either. So why couldn't I be like Jim Cornette or JJ Dillon or somebody like that? I can talk trash with the best of them,
Right.
and
See, that's the fun of it for me, is coming out and telling a story. I love back in the day when I was growing up watching Continental Championship Wrestling, watching Mid-Atlantic, like you were talking about, watching the territory days. And when they came up with them storylines, with them feuds and all them great stories with all the great managers that were involved. I mean, look at the 4 Horsemen and their managers. Look at it was so much fun to watch wrestling back then. And it just seems to me, and I'm not downing anything. Trust me, I love independent professional wrestling, but it just seems like managers aren't taking it serious anymore. You have a hard time as a manager now finding work in independent professional wrestling because nobody wants to pay a manager.
Right. Absolutely. And a lot of times, and I know this for a fact, American GI, he had went to bat for me several times. He's like, come on, man, at least give him his gas money back,
right.
For different people that we worked for.
I mean, that, and the thing about it is, if you go out there and you tell a story and you're out there and you're getting the crowd involved, you deserve to be paid.
Oh, brother, the crowd in Concord, they hated me with a passion. I even had a nickname. They'd start on me as soon as I hit the curtain, man. With me dressing up like I did, I adopted the name Pee Wee.
Pee Wee. Okay.
It was in Pee Wee Herman.
Right.
So yeah, they would start that Pee Wee chant, and I'd jump up and down.
They're gonna pay me. I start doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't make me no difference.
Right, whatever it takes.
The thing that I see a lot of the managers on the indie scene nowadays, as far as what I've seen, and this is just my opinion, okay, strictly my opinion.
Right.
They don't bring anything to the table. They just stand there. Get yourself involved. If you're getting a reaction out of the crowd, you're doing something right.
Right. I mean, don't take the crowd, but send the crowd toward the ring. My guy is the greatest guy in the world up there. My guy. Yeah. If you're a bad guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Guy, you're calling out the other guy's cheating or something. You do something while you're in there, because even if you come out as a face manager, there's things you can do. Maybe you can't choke them out because that's not a face thing, but you can call out when the other guys are cheating. You could always, bring your guy to the corner and bend him over and act like you might even do it, but whisper things into his ear. Make it look like you're involved in the match. Tell a story.
Absolutely. You want to be involved, but at the same time, like you say, you don't want to take the shine off your guys.
You want to put the shine on your guy, though. If you're being a manager, just whisper something in his ear, let him go, and then let him go.
And a lot of times, I know with me, I would pull them out and we'd huddle up, and it would just be complete and utter nonsense. I wasn't really telling them anything, but we were making them think we were telling them something.
Exactly. And then when he gets back in the ring, you start getting the crowd to chant his name or something, just anything with the stuff to put it back on him. And people don't understand that when new talent comes into professional wrestling, especially if new talent comes in and they're not really good at promos yet, a manager can be a key addition to getting that guy popular or that woman popular or tag team, what have you.
Absolutely. That in itself is why a lot of times, you get with guys because they can't cut a promo or they don't feel comfortable talking at all. Bobby Eaton, Uh, he never said 3 words on television that I remember.
Right.
But he had the best mouthpiece in the business in Jim Cornette.
And Jim Cornette, as a manager, did what the title says, manages. He managed.
Absolutely.
He actually got them gigs everywhere. He was on the phone saying, "Hey, I got this great tag team. I think you guys need to, hire them and bring them up there. They'll be your next tag champions." He did what a manager really is in real life.
Absolutely. And Paul Ellering did the Road Warrior.
Oh,
everything okay,
Paul? Oh yeah, you're kind of glitching a little bit, but there you go. You're back up. You're back.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
You're good. Hey, it happens. It happens. But yeah, you're talking about Paul Ellering. Paul Ellering did it for the older tag team. He also did it for what was the new tag team? He was in NXT with a tag team. They brought him up to WWE.
Yeah, I can't remember their name.
AOP.
Yeah,
Authors
that's
of Pain.
them.
Authors of Pain.
Yep, that's them.
And then for some reason they took him there, and I never understood why they took him away.
I haven't figured that out either. I mean, they were awesome, and I thought that they were going to just run roughshod like the Road Warriors did over everybody, because I mean, they were 2 big guys and they were talented. They were legitimately skilled.
They were legitimate beasts.
Yeah, they were monsters, man. But and somebody that was notorious for bringing monsters into the business, Vince McMahon, why he let those 2 slip through his fingers, it's puzzling to me. I don't understand.
Paul Ellering as soon as they went up to the main roster, and that's one thing that I it blew my mind. It's like, this guy is one of the best managers in the business. He's the one that got him through NXT looking so great, and then you bring him up to the roster, and then you get rid. I mean, it could have been Paul Ellering. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I'm not even going to claim to know. Paul could have just said, "Hey, I'm tired. I want to go home for a while." But
yeah,
I don't know. Paul Ellering was pretty legit. I don't know if he would want to just go home like that, but
no, I don't think that was the case. I mean, I don't know what it was, but I'm sure there was a lot more to it that we'll never know.
Right, without a doubt.
So
what is the craziest thing you ever saw with your own eyes being a manager at a wrestling match?
Let me think. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, man.
I'd love to hear one of them stories.
Some of it's not for airing.
Oh, we don't have a filter on here, so if you can go ahead and say anything.
Okay, well, the craziest thing I believe I ever saw was a valet, and she was new to the business and she didn't know. Her charge was in the ring, and she got up on the ring, and they were legitimate boyfriend girlfriend. You know how it is in the indie scene.
Right.
So she's thinking that the other guy's beating the hell out of him. He's in there and he's already gigged and all this kind of stuff. And
right.
So he's on the apron laying down, getting the hell beat out of him. And she gets up on the apron, and the other guy just stops, gets up off his opponent, and goes over there and knocks the holy shit out of that chick. And I found out later that she had been told, "Look, you're new to the business. You don't need to get up on the apron or none of this." And she wasn't cut out for it anyway, in my opinion. She just, she believed everything was real, and not saying that it isn't, for you fans out there, I apologize.
She wanted to go in there and protect her boyfriend is what it was. And
yeah, pretty much. pretty much. And I mean, he waylaid the holy hell out of this chick, Scott. I mean, the first thing that entered my mind, oh God, they're going to call the cops.
It looked
This
like
is
a
an
shoot.
assault
It looked
charge.
like a shoot, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. It really did. And it kind of scared me. And I talked to the guy. He said, I told that hussy to stay on the ground. I said, yeah, but she's still a woman. I said, how in the hell are you going to smack a woman? I said, if you're lucky, you're going to get out of here without assault charges.
And that's the reason why a lot of old timers, a lot of old, I won't say old timers, old schoolers, a lot of old school veterans won't get in the ring or go near a ring if there's a woman out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They won't even go out there. I had one, that just happened back, like we were talking about the Billy Ruff, the actual winner of the Billy Ruff. It happens. It happens.
Yeah. And it's sad, if there's any advice I can give, and this is for managers, valets, referees, wrestlers, anybody that's in this business, please, for the love of God, listen to your veterans in the locker room.
Yes.
They're not going to tell you anything to get yourself hurt. They're
true.
telling you good. They're telling you good shit to save your ass a lot of times. So you better take heed.
Right?
Especially if you got to work one of them, because most of them know how to shoot. And if they feel threatened or feel some type of way, Katie bar the door, buddy. It's over.
Right.
They'll stretch you 3 ways from Sunday.
And I've seen it happen. I've personally seen it happen where, I'm not going to lie to anybody. There's some young kids out there that I really enjoy watching wrestle, but they're young and they don't understand some things about the business, and they go in there with a big head. And these veterans have done exactly that. They go in and they start doing their flippity floppity and they're not telling a story. And what happens in the ring? They finally grab hold of them, and like you said, they stretch them every way but Sunday. And when they come out of the match and they're like, what the heck did you just do? And they sit them down for 5 minutes and explain. That is a learning experience. And that Absolutely. Is what these kids need to take away and go, instead of walking away mad, they need to walk away going, I just learned something today.
Right. And another thing, do you really need 300 hurricane runners in a match?
300 super kicks. Let's see. What else do they do? Yeah, I agree with you. Tell a story in the ring.
Yeah.
It's
the best two that I can come up with that would be able to tell a story, and this Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. If you want to learn storytelling 101, watch those two guys. Right. Watch them build up from.
Well, I will tell you this right here. There is a gentleman at the indie scene, and I won't mix words when I say this. Is a great storyteller. He's old school wrestler, Chris Thunder Anderson. If you watch this guy in the ring, he is not, I don't think I've ever seen him get on the ropes. I don't think I've ever seen this man get on the ropes, but he could tell a story. Everything he does in that ring is to tell a story, and it doesn't matter if he wins or loses.
Right.
He goes through a match, and you can follow the match.
Yeah.
And I love watching that. I love watching people who wrestle like that. That's what I grew up with. Like you said, I grew up watching Memphis wrestling. I grew up watching people like Jerry the King Lawler, Bill Dundee. When you went over to Mid-Atlantic, you had oh my God, Jake the Snake Roberts. You had like you said, Ricky Steamboat, Roddy Piper. All them great guys, man. I mean, and they told stories in the ring, and they didn't have to do all that high flying stuff.
Nope.
Very rarely did you see him come up off the top rope. Very rarely.
I don't think Jake ever got on the top rope, to my knowledge of anytime he was wrestling anywhere. But he was such a technician, and he don't get a lot of credit for that, especially when he first started out. He was just so good at what he did. and you'd be like glued to the TV. I'm like, I catch myself watching Peacock a lot and watching these old episodes of Mid Atlantic. And
I was just you must have read my mind because I was doing that yesterday. I watched one where Jake the Snake and Ricky Steamboat was a tag team. The first time they'd ever been at Mid Atlantic together. And one of the best moves Jake the Snake Roberts was doing during that match was a knee lift. He had a knee lift that launched a person, and it looked so good.
Yes, it did. It did. And there wasn't no smacking his back either. I mean, he nailed them with that knee. I mean, and it looked like it ripped a guy's head off his shoulders.
Right. And they went flying across the ring, right?
Yeah. Another one that comes to mind that had a killer knee lift was Mr. Wrestling 2.
Oh,
the $1 million knee.
My partner, my soon-to-be partner, he's my Chuck Winchester, my partner. He is a huge Mr. Wrestling 2 fan. He's even got his old mask and everything. He loves that guy, and he really loves it. Oh, Michael King said, we need to be dynamic as an industry. However, the foundations are always the foundations that you build upon. We need to be open to evolve and not do the same thing all the time. Now, I understand that, Mike. I get that. That you don't want, it just to be the whole old school fighting all the time. But what we're saying is tell a story in the ring. Don't just come in and do flippity floppity. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a place.
If you got the talent to come off the top rope, or you're a high flyer, or you are really, if you come in as a wrestler, and there are a lot of them out there who are, less than 100 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, they have to have something like that in order to get themselves over. If you got a guy that's 270 pounds, built like a brick house, and you're 80 pounds soaking wet, you better be able to do some high flying stuff to or chop the tree down, as we say. Do something, get them off the Right. Michael King said story is number one. It always is to me. I know that. Sometimes it's not. To some companies, it's not. But to me, being who I am, that's me. But a manager doesn't need to interfere and cheat every single match. No, they don't. And I agree with that.
No, I didn't. I really, when I felt like there was a lull in the crowd and I needed to bring them back, I would, and me and GI had this worked down to a science. I feel like, he would bring them over to the ropes when he felt like things are slowing down. Let me do something. He'd bring them over to me. He'd distract the referee, and I'd take my cane and I'd whop them upside the head or choke them on the ropes or, gouge them in the eye. Not a whole lot, just enough 4 or 5 seconds to get the crowd back into it, and then let GI take over. Let him do what he does best.
Right.
And
I mean, there are times when even a heel manager can walk out and, if you got a hot crowd already, depending on where you're coming out in the night, if you're coming out first, you're there to get the crowd riled up to begin with.
You got to build it.
You're going to come out there. You're going to start yapping as a heel manager. You're going to start yapping at the crowd, calling them names and blah, 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 getting them fired up. And then you turn around and, like you say, you might do a heelish thing, once or twice in the match, but you're doing that to fire up the crowd to get them ready for the rest of the night.
Absolutely.
Again, it's part of the story.
It's part of the story.
But if you're the main event of the evening and they're already fired up and you walk out there and you're a heel manager, you might go out there and call some names, but that's all you need to do. Go out there and blah, blah, blah. And then the rest of the time, it's your guy in the ring doing the rest of it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And,
I can see what Michael's
saying. And I feel it too. And I was fortunate enough, like I say, to work with American GI, and I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from AJ. And, they taught me when. They told me, and that, like I say, less is more. I had so much heat on me in Concord, man. I couldn't believe it, how bad those people hated me. Maybe it was because I always worked the hometown boy all the time. I don't know, but
Hey, if
you
you,
know,
if you work the good old boy of the town and you're a heel manager, yeah, you're gonna get a little bit of heat.
oh, funny story. This is gospel truth, and GI American GI can back me up on this if you want to check it. But we're working a church show in Concord. Okay. And you know how GI is. Have you seen him as a heel at, American GI, the heel?
Oh yeah.
Okay. He's just amazing. I mean, it blows my mind how good he is at that. And that's where, like I say, that's where I learned a lot of my stuff from. But we're working this church show, and we're on the crowd as soon as we hit the door. A bunch of hillbilly rednecks. We didn't know you took food stamps to get in this wrestling show. Hey, woman, you're so old you got an autographed copy of the Bible. Just whatever. Anything we could do to get a rile out of them. My favorite line was, "Sit down, Grandma, before you break a hip." Stuff like that. And we walked by this one guy, and GI's like, "Watch out." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "This guy's drunk." Okay, number one, why are you drunk at a church show?
Yeah,
Okay,
that is true.
Well, we beat his buddy up or whatever, his favorite, his baby face.
Okay.
We beat him up, and we walked right back by him. "I'm going to cut y'all after this show is over." I'm like,
no.
yeah. I'm like, really, dude? Number one, you're drunk at a church show. Number two, you're threatening to cut us at a church show. So we went and talked to the promoter about it, and he knew the guy, and he told him, he said, "Look, man, you don't know those two guys," he says, "but American GI will eat your lunch." He says, "And you're drunk. You're drunk." He says, "Why are you drunk at my church?" And GI is a real big Christian guy.
Right.
And nothing really ever phases him. I mean, when he's doing the heel thing, he's on point 150% of the time.
His timing is impeccable.
He's just great, and I really, really am thankful and blessed to have worked with such a good man. And like you say, much love and respect to GI. I wish he was watching, but yeah, my time with GI and AJ, like I say, those were probably my best 2 times working with those two. I got much love and respect from both those guys, because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be no Mr. Royal.
Right.
Have
you ever had a match where you walked out there and you had something planned? You guys had something planned. The match was all planned out or whatever, or at least you had the ending planned out where most people do. And you go out there and it just went to garbage. It just, nothing went right. Did you ever have one of those matches?
Yes, we did.
Tell us that story.
This is a good one. You'll love this. Okay. We had been building, this was a show up near Tennessee.
Okay.
Not quite in Tennessee, but pretty close. I mean, you could throw a rock and probably hit a redneck. But anyway.
Okay.
But anyway.
My son might take exception to that since he's from Tennessee, but okay.
He'll be all right. We all can't be perfect,
Oh, snap.
No, but hey, I'm a heel. What do you expect? Anyway, we're at this show, and we had been building up to wrestle the top tag team. It was American GI and Sweet Dreams. Okay. They were my tag team.
Nice.
And the commissioner, mind you, he came up with this idea. "Hey, why don't we handcuff you to me? That way you're not able to cheat, because you cheat every time you come up here." I'm like, whatever, no big deal. He says, "And then I'll have the other manager come out, chase me to the back. Then he'll come back out and get the key. from me and let you loose, and then y'all can do what y'all need to do. Well, the plan was that I was going to smash one of the inbred hillbilly rednecks that we were facing with the chair. And anyway, we did the whole handcuff thing, and the manager came out and distracted the commissioner, and he handcuffed me to the chair. Well, instead of giving the key to the other manager, he gave it to the fans.
Oh,
He handed the handcuff key to the fans, and I had heat there too. So I'm handcuffed to this chair. It's coming up. The spot's coming up. And I walk over to GI, and he's out there. He's like, "What are you still doing handcuffed to the chair?" I'm like, "The damn fans have the key." He's like, "No problem." He set the chair up.
Okay.
And he stomped that chair with my hand in it. And I swear to you, Scott, I feel like he dislocated my shoulder. He stomped that chair so hard.
Did he get the handcuffs out, though?
No. No. That was the worst part of it all. I went through all that pain, and he didn't even get the handcuffs off. But anyway, we still managed to do the spot. I was going to hit the guy with the chair. Well, Jay Batista was actually working with us that show too. Okay. He come running out and blasted me with a clothesline or hit me with a chair or something and knocked me out. It was a stretcher match. That's what it was, where you had to put your opponents on the stretcher.
Right, right.
That was the way you won. And they wound up knocking me out and putting me on the stretcher. So, yeah. But that was one instance that I remember that things went terribly wrong. And another funny story about that time up there, you know, GI has heat everywhere he goes. I mean, he's always wanted, when he first started out, and I remember this, and this is why it was such a great honor for me. I remember watching American GI at the Armory shows for the old PWF, the Italian Stallion, and George Southland promotion years and years ago. And I remember watching American GI as a babyface. Right. George wouldn't let him be a heel. He wouldn't let him, no, you can't be a heel. No. He always wanted to be a heel. Well, he finally got a chance to be a heel, and he run with it. And man, I'm telling you, he's just an awesome heel. I mean, you wouldn't think somebody named American GI could pull it off, but he does excellent with it.
Oh, right.
But anyway, same little redneck corner of the world. I think it was a different show, but this was as mad as I'd ever seen GI get. We had finished our match, and we're walking by, and a kid spit on him.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Bro, you have no idea. No idea how mad he was. And me and Sweet Dreams are trying to push him back, and he's still a big guy. And he's pushing both of us. He's like, "Sign the waiver, little boy. Sign the waiver." And he kept telling him that, and he went and grabbed a microphone and he said, "If your parents will sign the waiver," he says, "I'll show you something." Oh. He was legitimately pissed. And me knowing GI as well as I did, if he'd have got his hands on that kid, that kid would have been nothing but a tobacco stain on that apron.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, God, it was terrible. But the promoter knew the kid, and he made the kid apologize to GI. He's like, "Oh, I just got caught up in the moment." There's a way to do things without having to spit on somebody. That's just
spitting. Yeah, I mean,
it's gross.
It's not only is it gross,
and it's indignant.
In today's day and age, when you could pass,
anything
on other people, anything, no, that is not a way to go. I'm surprised he just didn't jerk him over the guardrail. I'm surprised before you could even get to him, he didn't jerk that kid over the guardrail. Because I know a
Well-
lot of guys in the business who would have just jerked that kid up over the guardrail.
Well, there again, that's GI.
I mean, I know
He's
he's a
got a lot-
true professional. I know he's a true professional from top of his head to the bottom of his feet. But man, I mean, that was restraint. Because
Right.
if somebody would have spit on me like that, we would have had some major issues.
it took a lot to keep him calm. It really did. I mean, and
I can imagine, because you're not. Then it becomes not a show, or it doesn't become wrestling. It becomes your livelihood at that point.
yeah, absolutely.
So
And-
that you're crossing a deadly line at that point, because you don't know what that kid's got. I mean,
Exactly.
and I know he doesn't have a mean-hearted bone in his body. I know the man personally, so
Mhm.
I know Ti doesn't have a mean bone in his body. Like we said, he's a devout Christian. He's just an overall good guy. He's a nice guy, but
Awesome.
you're dealing with livelihood, and I think that would go with anybody in the wrestling business. Even if you're a bad person, if you spit on somebody, there's a difference between crossing over the boundaries and hitting somebody. Okay, you can get away with that maybe, and you'll get warned or maybe kicked out of the show. But when you spit on somebody, I mean, if he would have got that in his nose or in his mouth or something like
Mhm.
that, where he would have had to have gone to the hospital and take all kinds of tests.
Yeah.
There's repercussions for that, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I say, God love him. American GI had more restraint than I would have had.
Oh, without a
Because I
doubt.
would have probably would have jerked. I don't claim to be a devout Christian. I believe in God and all that good stuff. But I would have lost my religion that night, brother. Believe me.
So, are you going to be in any upcoming shows here in the near future? We got a few minutes left.
At the present time, I'm just I've got a little 7-year-old kid,
Okay.
that I'm taking care of. Me and my girlfriend.
Okay.
Right now, he's pretty much my life. But if anybody would like to book Mr. Royal, all you got to do is hit me up on Facebook, and we'll discuss it. I'm not saying never.
Rodney Malcolm, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm not saying never, and I'm not saying right now, but maybe somewhere down the line, if somebody wants to see a real good old school manager come in and see what he can do to piss people off, I'm your guy.
There you go, without a doubt, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, man. I enjoyed listening to your stories. I will have to have you back sometime on #Truth. I
Absolutely.
hope somebody picks you up soon. I don't know what to say about managers and why they're not being used as often anymore, but I just think that it's it's becoming a lost art.
It is. It really is. I mean, AEW is trying to revive it a little bit, but I mean, really, how far can?
But the only thing that I see with AEW though is they're taking old wrestlers and making them managers.
Yeah,
They're not just managers. You know what I'm
they're
saying?
not managers. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
back in
got
the
you.
day, people were just managers. They weren't even wrestlers back in the day. They were just
Right.
managers. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a difference.
know-
To me, if you're a wrestler, and don't, again, I'm not in the situation. I don't know what the situation is, but a lot of these older wrestlers just don't want to get out of the business. So why not hook on to a manager's role and they can stay close to the business? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And you got to love them for loving the business that much.
Right. Right.
You know? And that's how I started out too. I was a fan, and
Right.
it took me where I wanted to go. And I'm thankful for every opportunity, any promoters that I've ever worked with. Nothing but love and respect for you guys giving me the shot, giving me a chance to show you what I can do. I've enjoyed it. This actually, Scott, is the first podcast interview that I've ever done.
Well, that's
And,
cool. Thank
and-
you for coming on and letting me be your first interview.
Hey, brother, I wouldn't have it any other way because I really do enjoy your show. I watch it quite a bit myself.
Thank you, man. I
And,
appreciate that.
And you are doing everything, in my opinion. You're doing everything that you can to keep the indie circuit alive. And for these guys that don't tell you, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the work that you do trying to keep the indie circuit alive and kicking and throwing out these pipe bombs every once in a while when you see something that pisses you off. I love those too.
Well, I kind of did that, and the last time I did that, I kind of got egg in my face because I didn't get all the information, and I don't know when my next rant, as I like calling them, is going to happen. But the last time I did a rant, I didn't get all the information, so I kind of made some people mad that I really didn't want to make mad. So I'm going to, before I do another rant, there will be a lot of investigation. I learned a lesson. Everybody learns a lesson in wrestling at one point or another, and I learned my wrestling lesson that day. I heard a lot of people that I didn't mean to hurt, and I didn't have all the information. So those rants, sometimes they get you in trouble, so be careful.
But it's like your show says, #truth. If you believe it in your heart, then that's the way it is, man. I mean, that
Gotcha.
you know.
Well, man, again, like I said, thank you for coming on, man, and we will see you sometime down the road. Monday night, the last show before we do our Thanksgiving break, we're going to have Doug Masters on at 7 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock, you can get 2 shows for the price of one Monday. So be looking out for that. Doug Masters will be on at 7 o'clock, and Sean Baker will be on at 9 o'clock. So Monday night, come and spend Monday night with us, and we'll have a good time interviewing Doug Masters and Sean Baker. Until then, guys, you guys have a great hopefully you guys are getting all primed up and ready for a great holiday season.
Absolutely.
Rodney, again, thank you for coming, man. It's been a pleasure. And
the pleasure's mine.
The #truth. We'll see you guys Monday night.